The game of blackjack is one of the easiest and most fun games to play at the casino. There's a few things that you need to know before you sit down and play though. First off, it's a game where you are not playing against each other, but you're playing against the dealer. The goal is to get as close to 21 without going over and try to beat the dealer's score. Whoever is closest to 21 wins. All right, let's talk about some specifics. The first thing you want to do when you approach a blackjack table is to exchange your money for chips. The way that you do this is you're going to wait till all the other players are done with their round. They're going to place your money kind of in the middle of the table like this, and the dealer will exchange it for some chips. What you want to avoid is placing it on the betting circle, because the dealer might think that you're going to just play with cash instead of chips, and this can count as a bet. But you probably don't want to play that all at one time. So if you put it in between the two circles like this, or kind of even towards the dealer, then they know that you want to exchange that for chips. And you might even want to tell them which denominations you want. For example, this is $500. I want to exchange this for $25 chips and $100 chips. So they'll give you a mix of each. You're also going to count out your money to make sure they're giving you the correct amount of chips for the money that you gave them. In addition, they're going to take your money and they're going to put it in a drop box, which is usually on the edge of the table. Once you've received your chips, be sure that you only place the number of chips in the betting circle that you're willing to bet. You probably want to keep the majority off to the side or maybe behind the betting circle. And for me, I'm just going to play one chip or one $25 chip inside the betting circle, and so the dealer knows that that's all I'm willing to risk for that particular hand. But if you put more in, they assume that that's how much you want to bet in that particular hand. So be careful with that. Some people have strategies or bet spreads that they use. So for me, I'm just going to start off with a $25 chip inside the betting circle. Now that you've placed a wager, we need to know what happens next. How is the game dealt? What choices do you have once you have your cards? What does the dealer have to do? And so on. All right, so first off, let's talk about how the game is dealt. Before you get your cards, you need to know that most games of blackjack are dealt out of what's called a shoe. This is a place where the cards are kept, and once they come out of here and are in play and get swept away, they get put into a discard tray until the shuffle. You know it's time to shuffle when the cut card, which is usually a little bit past halfway, the further it is, the better it is for the player. But once that comes out, they typically finish playing that round, and then there is a shuffle. And the cards get put back into the shoe and you do it again. How is the game dealt? You're going to get two cards face up, where the dealer gets just one card face up and one card face down, like this. Most players use a chart called basic strategy to help inform their decisions. That's the chart you see up here on the screen. Playing with basic strategy lowers the house edge to about 0.5 to 0.6%, depending on some of the other rules. That's half of 1%. Those are about as good of odds as you'll see in a casino. So for this particular hand, you have an 8 and a 4. By adding those together, we get 12. 12 versus the dealer's 10. The chart says to hit this. To indicate hit, you're going to tap on the table or scratch it. That just means give me another card. The dealer will do that by putting another card that extends out, and you can add that card to your total. Remember, you're trying to get as close to 21 as possible without going over, and you can choose to stay whenever you feel like you don't want to risk it anymore. Here you have 19. You probably don't want to pick another card because there's a good chance that you're going to bust or go over 21 if you were. To indicate that you want to stand or stay on that hand, you're going to wave your hand over your cards like that, which just means I don't want any more, I'm good. Then the dealer gets to play, and you'll see here on every single table, it has the directions that the dealer must follow. On this table, it says that the dealer must draw to 16 and stand on all 17s. So here, because they have a 10, we're going to flip over the bottom card and see if we need to pick another card or not. All right, and they have 18. So because that's above 17, they're going to stand on this. And remember, you had how many? You had 19. So you win. In order to pay out the player, you win 1-to-1, meaning that for everything that you bet, you're going to get that equal amount, and they put it next to your bet like this, and then they'll sweep up your cards, and it's time for the next round. As a player, what you might want to do is consider changing your bet or pulling your winnings back and putting it off to the side. Or if you were to lose, you might want to take from your pile and bet again. Since this case we won, I'm going to take that for profit, put it off to the side here, and leave my original bet out in the betting circle. Let's try another hand and see if we can get a different decision this time. Remember, you get 2 cards face up, and the dealer gets 1 face up and 1 face down. Here, since face cards are 10 valued cards, 10 plus 10 is 20. That's just 1 away from the highest total that you can get, a 21. So we are going to stand on this hand. Remember, you wave your hand over your cards like this to show that you don't want any more cards. The dealer's turn to act is now. So they're going to flip, and they have 7, 16. So since they're not to 17 yet, they have to keep drawing. And they have 21. So you had 20, they have 21. What happens next is they will take your bet first because you lost. They'll put it in their chip tray, and then they'll take your cards and their cards and put them in the discard tray like this. Because we don't have any money out in the betting circle, we need to place a new wager in the betting circle like this. In fact, let's change it up a little bit and put $50 out there. All right, on this hand, this is another new decision. Okay, remember that basic strategy chart from before? Here, our card's told to be 9 versus a dealer's 3. This is what's called a double down. What does that mean? This means in exchange for exactly 1 more card, you're going to place double the bet out there. So if your original bet was $50, you're going to place another $50, make sure they're the same size pile, and you're going to get exactly 1 more card. The dealer will turn this card sideways. Some people like to have them keep it face down until the end of the round and then reveal to see if they won or lost. For the sake of this video, we will leave it sideways face up so that you know that they have what? Remember, ace can be worth either 1 or 11, and you always want to take the better amount. So 11 plus the 9 original, that's 20. That's a pretty good hand. Let's see if we can win. The dealer's turn to act gives them 12 and 22, 1 too many. So since you didn't go over 21, you are a winner, and you get paid out for not just your original bet, but also that double down bet off to the side. So the way that they pay this out is the 2 for the original and another 2 green for that double down bet. So you made $100 on this hand. If this was your original, this is 25, 50, 75, and 100 extra that you won. The dealer, of course, will sweep away your cards again. All right, we have a couple more decisions that we need to talk about. And the next one is one of the most famous, and that is when you have a pair of 8s, you want to split this. What does that mean exactly? Well, it's not just 8s. Our basic strategy chart says that you want to split in a variety of situations. But to split your hand, what you want to do is indicate, you can do 2 fingers like this, or split, kind of make a splitting signal with your fingers like that, make some sort of a V. And you're going to put out twice the bet, make the V, and the dealer will probably separate these a little bit so they know that they're 2 different hands, and you're going to play them separately. Meaning you're going to act on this hand individually, and then whatever happens there, whether you hit, stand, double down, or anything else, then once that one's over, you're going to play this one out as well. Let's see what I mean by that. On this first hand, you get 18. The chart says to stand on this, so you have to make another hand signal of standing. On this hand, you have an ace, which is 11, plus 8, so 19. So again, you're going to stand on that. Dealer's turn to act now. They also have 19. This is what's called a push. Now, different dealers do different things for pushes, but a lot of them like to kind of pound the table next to you, or I've seen the flop of the hand like this. This hand, however, since it lost to the dealer, they do have to take those chips and put them in their chip tray. The dealer then will take all the cards, and it's because you didn't win or lose on this one, you can move these chips back to the betting circle, and we can try another round. All right, this next hand is an interesting one that you may or may not have the opportunity to do at your particular casino, and maybe even your particular table. There's some tables that allow this and some tables that don't. The option here is called a surrender. To show the dealer that you want to surrender, you're going to, behind your bet, draw a horizontal line with your finger. What that tells the dealer is that you want to give up playing your hand in exchange for only losing half your bet. Why would you want to do this? Well, a 16 versus a dealer's 10 is one of the worst hands that you can potentially get. So whether you hit or stand, you are likely to lose this hand. Because of that, in order to not lose your entire bet, you can give up half of your bet and give up the opportunity to play your hand in hopes of not losing all of it. All right, that was probably a good decision because the dealer had 17, which they would have to stand on. And if you were to take another card, you probably would have lost. And if you were to stand, you definitely would have lost. So that was a good decision to surrender. So there's a few special situations I want to talk about now. If you remember those first 5 decisions that we had, hit, stand, double down, split, and surrender, those are the basic decisions that you can make as a player. But there's a few things that happen sometimes where you may or may not have a decision to make, like this. The game obviously gets its name from this hand. This is a blackjack. A blackjack is when you have what's called a natural 21, meaning that you don't have to take any more cards to add up to be 21. It just is the first 2. This is a natural 21. When this happens and the dealer doesn't also have 21, then you get paid out 3-2. Make sure that your table says that blackjack pays 3-2. If your table says that blackjack pays 6-5, for example, do not play that table. The odds of that table are significantly worse, and you do not want to play at that table. Make sure it says 3-2. Because here, since you have $50 out here, or 2 green chips, you're going to get paid 3 green chips to those 2. All right. So you get paid a 150% more amount than what you originally bet. So there you made $75. This next hand, we're going to see what happens when the dealer has an ace out. When the dealer has an ace showing as their up card, or the card that is not face down, what happens here is they're going to ask you for a different decision that we haven't talked about yet, and that is whether or not you want to take insurance. There are a few things that happen when the dealer asks you to take insurance. First off, most people think that this is a sucker's play and you should not take insurance. But what if you do want to take insurance? What are you actually doing here? Well, in order to take insurance, you have to bet exactly half of your original wager. Here we have $50 in our betting circle. Half of that, of course, is $25. So we can take $25 and we're not going to be betting it here in the betting circle. We're actually going to bet it on the insurance bar like this. What that's doing is we are not betting on our hand at all. When we take insurance, we are actually betting a side bet. This is a side bet that the dealer has blackjack. It has nothing to do with your hand. I cannot stress that enough. So obviously the dealer either has blackjack or they don't have blackjack. Those are the 2 options. If they do have blackjack, they'll turn their card sideways and look in the little peeker. And if they do, they will flip it over right away and you won't play out your hand at all. If you have taken insurance, what will happen is you will lose your initial bet, but don't worry because this pays out 2-1, meaning that you're going to be given back 2 more bets of that same value. So really it's a wash. You didn't lose money at all. Let's watch what happens if you take insurance and the dealer does not have blackjack. So here again, I'm going to play insurance. Dealer checks and they don't have it. If they don't have it, they are not going to flip over their card underneath. Instead, they're just going to take your insurance bet and put it in your chip tray. And then you can make your decision from there. So for here, I would hit this hand. Now I have 19. We're going to stand on that. Dealer has what's called a soft 14 because this can either be a 1 or 11. And now they have 21. So they did end up beating you there. So now you lose your initial bet as well. Now that we know some of the basic decisions and some of the hand motions that we need to do, let's play out a few hands and see if you can correctly make those decisions and the hand motions, and so that you are ready to go play some blackjack at your local casino. Let's start by playing $50 a hand, so 2 green chips. Let's see here. On this first hand, you get a 12 versus the dealer's 4. It's a pair of 6s. So what should you do with a pair of 6s versus the dealer's 4? I'll put up the chart on the screen in case you get stuck. That's right, this is going to be a split. So you want to put out your money first and then make the hand gesture of a V or 2 fingers like this, And the dealer knows to split that. And you're going to play these two hands separately. On the first 6, you get a 16. A 16 versus a dealer's 4. What's the correct decision here? This is going to be a stand. On the second 6, you get an 11. An 11 versus a 4. Well, here, what should we do? This is going to be a double down. So you put the same amount next to your original wager, and you're going to get exactly 1 card. The hand signal for this to double down is to just put 1 finger out. And you got 21. Nice work. The dealer's turn to act is now, so they have 6, and they have a soft 17. Remember, the dealer must stand on all 17s on this table. So therefore, this hand is a winner. You get paid out 1-to-1 for both of those. And this hand unfortunately lost, so I have to take those from you. Okay. Now remember that right now none of those are really in a betting circle. And so you want to kind of sweep these up. Let's bet $50 again inside the correct betting circle. Let's try another hand or two. All right, now you have a 19 versus a dealer's 8. What's the correct decision here? This is going to be a stand. Good job. The dealer has 18, so you won that one. Again, you can choose to pull those off, or you can leave it if you want. Here you have $100 now. Here's a tough one. Now it's a 13 versus a dealer's 2. What's the correct decision on this? Well, a 13 versus a 2 is actually going to be a stand. The dealer has 10, 15, and 18. So unfortunately, you lost your money there. All right, make sure you put out a new wager. Let's go back to the $50 again. Nice. This time you got a blackjack. And since the dealer has a 3 showing, there is no possible way for them to have blackjack. So they'll flip their hand over and you'll get paid out 3-2. So you get 3 green chips because you originally bet 2 green chips. That is $75 win. All right, now there's a couple other things that you need to know. First off, let's say that you want to be done playing. What should you do with your chips? Well, don't play until you lose them all. That won't be good. You want to at least walk home with something. And so what you need to do is you don't cash out your chips at the table, but you can do what's called color up. This is where you take your chips and you push them towards the dealer and say, I'd like to color up. What that means is they're going to take your chips and give you an equal amount, but fewer chips, so it's easier to carry to the cage. That's where you will cash out and get cash in exchange for your chips. So here you can see that we have 100, 200, and then these are in piles of 4. So 4 times 25 is another 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So they would probably give you a $500 chip and a $100 chip, and they would put the chips that you were playing with back into their chip tray like this. And then you can take your chips. Notice this is a lot easier to carry. You can take those to the cage, and at the cage is where you can exchange your chips back for money. This does not happen at the table. Now, before you go and cash out all your chips at the cage, I want to tell you that here at A1 Blackjack, we teach you how to beat this game, how to beat the game of blackjack. Every game at the casino has a house edge, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, blackjack has one of the lowest house edges in the whole casino. By learning how to do what's called count cards, we're going to take that house edge and flip it from the casino's advantage to our advantage. And by doing that, by learning how to count cards and keep track of the high cards and low cards, we're going to gain an advantage at this and become a consistent winner by playing the game of blackjack. It's not illegal. It's just using your brain and thinking pretty quickly about this game, but it's definitely doable and you can do it too. If you'd like to learn, please subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.